11. Candle flames danced in the breeze, and the curtain drifted to one side as a short man wearing a brown robe sauntered into the circular space. The unstable light flickered against the dark rings of a wall carved out of an ancient tree. A woman with blonde ringlets flowing over her shoulders stood behind a high-backed maple chair. She smiled at the newcomer. "Pronto. Welcome." The robed figure gave a subtle bow in response, but turned his attention to the taller woman at her side, with hair so black it reflected even the subtle, shimmering light in the dim space. She gestured toward an open chair in invitation. Then the man called Pronto raised the hood from his robe and gave a second nod. Although brown, the clarity of his eyes pierced the darkness like the refined smoky quartz produced by a master gemologist. He sat.
"A tree?" Pronto asked. "What will you think of next, Dahlia?"
The obsidian-haired woman adjusted her purple and crimson robe, then eased into her seat. The blonde woman followed suit. "Something about wood makes it difficult for prying eyes, ears, and mystical sights to penetrate. I know you've lived most of your life in Trowsby, so I hope my choice of the dark wood doesn't offend." The man cleared his throat.
"I suppose not. The travel isn't exactly smooth in a cart."
"A cart?" Dahlia asked. "Did you bring a coachman?" Pronto waved a dismissive hand. His bottom lip swelled.
"Of course not."
His attention shifted to the blonde woman, his initial gaze frozen by her icy blue eyes. Then he turned back to Dahlia.
"So, this is her? Daughter of the matron herself?"
The blonde woman nodded.
"I am Delphine Tura. It is as you say. My mother is the Blessed One, bound to the tree of Solara. Do I detect offense?"
Pronto's eyebrows twitched.
"No, it is an honor, my lady."
He dropped his head in a full bow this time. Dahlia leaned forward and whispered conspiratorially. "It is Pronto's nature. He's a bit of a cynic." Delphine nodded understanding, then set a hand gently on the polished wood.
"If my daily routine involved the witnessing of innocents being wiped of their memories, then sent to slave for the governor's patrons, I might be equally skeptical." "Well, you're certainly informed."
Pronto jerked his chair forward so its legs creaked on the smooth wooden floor that had no business in the base of a tree. Dahlia turned her hands over. "Delphine must know what threats lie ahead if we're to achieve our goal. The road is winding and long. If she's to assist you, it's best you discuss your plans here. The prying eyes and ears of Warrington are no secret, and we must keep them distant. Besides, I merely saved you the trouble of having to present the history, how we've come to where we are. Considering your penchant for impatience, I thought you'd appreciate the investment of time I've spared you." Delphine nodded, but the motion was so subtle as to approach undetectable.
"And I must know into whose care I'm being placed if I am to agree to risk my life for your mission."
"Blunt. At least I won't be surprised."
"Yes, Pronto,"
Dahlia grunted.
"She's blunt. She's smart. But if you'd like to inspect her, you'll see she's level 60, of high intellect, and possesses more than 20 spells that would melt you. She's full of surprises. Do you have queries, or might we get to business?"
Pronto's right cheek twitched, but he didn't bother inspecting his new co-conspirator.
"Fine. Where are Lyra and Johannes?"
"Lyra is opening a shop in Broomhill, a waypoint for those you might rescue, should you require Jara's assistance."
"Broomhill?" Pronto spat. "I just rode through there. It's like that fecal pool has regressed in time. Why in the world would a mage have such power?"
"Because it is a condition of Delphine's involvement."
"Ah, so my new partner's already making demands."
"Partner," a voice whispered. The curtain swung to the side, then a warm wind flooded the space as a figure stepped inside. All the candles flickered out. They were washed in darkness as the curtain brushed the wall and snuffed out the daylight. Pronto shifted, his head jerked around. "Allow me," a deep, sultry voice said. An ethereal ball of amber light formed above the center of the table. The figure at the door possessed the same golden curls as Delphine. Pronto knocked over his chair as the air rushed out of his lungs.
"Please, don't get up."
She raised a hand. He lifted the chair, then sat back down as if forced. The woman's aura strangled him, assaulted his shadow essence.
"I am Jara, matron of the wood, and your host. Forgive my nosiness, but I have sat idle long enough. Let me fill you in, Mage Pronto."
She threw Dahlia a glance but didn't wait for her acquiescence.
"This shadow council you've formed is far from what I'd call a blessed entity, but its tendency toward the darkness might shroud your intentions, and the goddess doesn't want creatures of the light losing their memories because they are captured. Although the goddess doesn't interfere, her displeasure with what the King's Regent and the administrators at Warrington University are doing to those blessed with the mana pools she provided them at birth is apparent. We thought the lavation practice would end when those renegades in the West conspired to have the last king poisoned. But the boy was like the father, and 100 fathers before him. So although she cannot support your cause, she will not stand in the way of Delphine's desire to assist. After all, why should she be any different than the rest of the world? Should she not choose her own destiny? Although my only daughter is fit for the role, and I have little doubt she could succeed with your support, Administrator and Mage, your abject failures thus far render her participation necessary. So you might understand why I take exception to your tone when addressing my own line. Do you not?"
"Apologies,"
Pronto squeaked.
"It wasn't my intention to offend."
Jara pushed forward as if he hadn't spoken.
"I have educated Delphine on events in Eastern Rubal for years. I have trained her in the ways of magic, although it proved quite challenging with her natural affinity for the shadow."
"Shadow?"
Pronto's head swung around, and his eyes widened as they saw Delphine in a new light.
Shadow. A curse if you ask me, but a powerful curse nonetheless. For many years I have tutored my child in preparation for the greatness that awaits her. Although this was not the mission I had in mind, I don't have the ego to debate my creator. Do you?"
Pronto's head swiveled back and forth so fast he might have pulled a muscle in his neck.
"When Delphine's mission is accomplished and this horrendous stain on Enora called lavation is ended, she will return to me in the wood. I have plans for her beyond this trifle."
The matron's eyes flashed blinding white light. Pronto and Dahlia raised their arms to shelter their eyes. Delphine didn't react. Jara's voice dropped in pitch.
"If you must throw your body under your horse-drawn cart and die by your crunching bones to ensure she is returned, you will be better served than if any ill fate befalls her."
Her voice softened.
"Are my words clear to you?"
"Yes, blessed matron. That the goddess has seen fit for me to lay eyes on her most beautiful and humble servant."
"Stop talking, mage."
Pronto parted his lips as if to speak, then pressed them into a white line and nodded.
"You will take Priya to Warrington. You will see she is employed in the library. See she is quietly registered, as the king requires. She will work on her magic in private, and you will mask her true power until she has advanced in the hierarchy. This is dark magic, so it must be you who conducts it. The mission will take as long as it takes. Although she will work for you initially, you will never treat her as an employee. Instead, you will trust that I have instilled the wisdom in her needed to manipulate the ingrates you call leaders into making her one of them. How? You want to ask? I don't care how. Do as the goddess bids you, and you will be rewarded. Continue to act as if you are of higher station than you enjoy or dare look down your nose at Delphine, and you will be cast into the depths of Seran to enjoy a fate worse than death for all I care. Do you have further queries?"
"No, matron. It's my honor to serve."
Jara glanced at Dahlia.
"At least he's adaptive."
She waved a hand as she stepped through the curtain, then it closed behind her. The glowing sphere above them vanished, and the candles flickered back to life. Dahlia smiled.
So now you've met the matron.
2 orange orbs bloomed to life behind and above Delphine. A shadowy figure emerged around the glowing eyes, but the room's occupants didn't seem to notice. Clad in obsidian armor with 2 curving horns jutting from his red-fleshed forehead, he towered in the space so the points of the jagged tips on his helm nearly cut into the wood ceiling. Pronto and Dahlia froze in time. The candle flames halted their motion altogether. Delphine rose from her chair.
This is what keeps you from obedience, Shenhua. My adversary's child fills your heart. If you will not bring her, then I will send for her, and I will draw her essence from her very soul.
Kame's sword gave off an ear-piercing screech as he lingeringly drew it from a wide scabbard on his hip that nearly touched the floor. Gripping the thick pommel with both hands, he drew it to one side and swung in a brutal arc toward the blonde caster's neck. I jerked awake. "Priya!" I called into the dark cave. My voice echoed back and into the darkness outside. "Priya!" I bellowed. A horse nickered. 2 glowing orbs bloomed.